Hey everyone, I'm Corey from Blue Falcon Board Gaming. If you're new to the channel, I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran that started the Blue Falcon Board Gaming Group here in the Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia tri-state area with the hopes of promoting positive mental health through board gaming as well as making board games more accessible to the community by hosting and co-hosting events. Today I'm joined by Dan Hughes. He is one of the designers of CoraQuest. Dan, would you like to do a little introduction on yourself?
My name's Dan Hughes. I do a variety of things. I'm now a board game designer, I suppose, but I'm also a mental health nurse. So I'm a community mental health nurse. I'm a father and a husband. And I also do a board game podcast called Sporadically Bored with Mike Delicio from the Dice Tower. And me and my daughter Cora also contribute videos sporadically, now and again, to the Dice Tower video YouTube channel. So that's who I am.
Awesome. So, how did you get into board games? Was this something that you kind of started as a child, or did you discover it later on in life? What was your entry into the hobby?
It's an annoying answer, but I think there's kind of four entries into the hobby for me. I did start board gaming as a child. I used to play. My favourite game used to be Escape from Atlantis, which is Survive now, I think it's called. So proper board game. I recognised its quality back then. I used to play that loads and various, and also Monopoly and all that kind of stuff as a kid. Then in kind of late high school, we call it college, but late high school, kind of, I was at 18 or so, I discovered Dungeons and Dragons and kind of immersed myself in that world for 4 or 5 years until adulthood overtook me. And then around 10 years ago, I played Carcassonne for the first time, and again, and that's kind of where my hobby board gaming life began, and kind of threw myself wholeheartedly into hobby board games. And then, kind of alongside that, there's been a kind of a birth of my family gaming as well. So I've got three kids. The oldest is 18, the youngest is 10, and I've been playing board games with them since the oldest was about 8. So kind of that, alongside my hobby board games, I've also developed a big love of family board games as well, and kids board games in particular. So kind of got four entries into the hobby there. So I'm well and truly immersed.
So, you and your daughter Cora designed CoraQuest during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You want to give just kind of like the elevator pitch on that, on what the game's about, how it plays, and then also what that design process was like.
The elevator pitch is basically it's a dungeon crawling board game, but it's for families rather than for children, and it's rather than for adults. So there's loads of kind of dungeon crawlers on the market, mainly with relatively dark themes, mainly quite complex rules, and there's not that many. There's loads of kind of Euro type games for kids, or but there's not many thematic games for kids, not many kind of immersive thematic narrative games for kids. So that's what Cora wanted to play. She'd seen me playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends. She'd seen me playing things like Descent and Catacombs and all sorts of stuff with my friends. She wanted to play that. There wasn't really anything. Wasn't really anything suitable. There's Mice and Mystics and things like that, so it was the middle of the first lockdown. Well, it wasn't the middle; it was the beginning of the first lockdown. The schools had been kind of caught on the back foot. They were sending home homework, kind of homeschool work, which wasn't very interesting, wasn't very exciting. It's not their fault, No one knew this was going to happen, and I was desperate to try and keep her engaged. Not particularly in schoolwork, but just engaged and happy and excited and interested, and not kind of. Not kind of scared or not kind of worried or not kind of bored. So I just said, "Well, do you fancy designing a board game?" And she said, "Yeah." And what kind of game would you like to do? And she said, "Well, something a bit like your Dungeons and Dragons, something a bit like Zombicide or something like that." So that's what we did, basically. And to cut a very long story short, we designed it. My friend Gary, who's an artist, he, as a joke, mocked up a kind of board game cover saying, "Coming to Kickstarter soon, CoraQuest," and all that kind of stuff. And when you weren't thinking of something in one way 1 second, and then the next second, suddenly the possibilities kind of exploded in front of me, and I thought, actually, this isn't a bad game. And if we play tested it a bit more and we developed it a bit more and stuff like that, there isn't a lot of these kind of games for kids. So why not? Why not come into Kickstarter soon? So we ended up kickstarting it. It ended up doing really, really well. A variety of exciting things happened. We got interviewed on national TV and all sorts of stuff, and then we got a publishing deal after it got funded. So it's now pretty much nearly in shops. It's in shops in the UK starting yesterday, and America. The boat's just arrived to America, so hopefully it will be in shops in the USA within the next few weeks or so. And also all our Kickstarter backers have got their copies and things. So it's very exciting, really.
Man, I wish I knew that they were coming to the U.S. and stuff. I just ordered some off of Amazon, but the estimated delivery date was like December 2nd or something.
Oh well, that might be the same. It might be the same. Might be the same one. As I say, it's only just arrived. Yeah. The issue is we fulfilled to our backers back in February. Well, January actually, but excuse me. But the publishing company wanted to get it translated into a variety of different, which is incredibly exciting within itself. So it's translated into Polish, into French, into Mandarin, and into Korean. But that process takes time, and they printed the retail version at the same time as they printed all these other language versions, and it took a long time for the translations basically to come through because there's a lot of text in the game, and then as soon as they were ready to be printed, Shanghai went into lockdown, so we had to wait another 2 months until we could print it. So that's why it's coming so late to the market, which is a bit frustrating because I'm a very impatient person and I want people to have my game now. But fortunately, we were able to get to the Kickstarters on time, the Kickstarter backers on time. So that's positive. But yeah.
Yeah, I keep seeing everybody getting their the new Zombicide, the Wild West or whatever it was. Everybody in other countries are posting it, and it's held up due to the hurricanes and stuff. In Florida, they've stuff the shipping containers have got held up due to hurricanes and all of this other stuff. So I'm just like, hey, it's out of their control. That's nothing nobody can control. I just got to be patient.
It's frustrating though, isn't it? It's frustrating. I tell you what, I bet Simon are more frustrated than anyone else. You know what I mean? It's interesting. Everyone was saying, I can't wait till it arrives. I'm like, not as much as I can't wait till it arrives. You know what I mean? I'm really excited for people to get their hands on it. But it's gone down really well. I mean, not to blow my own trumpet, but it's got an 8.3 on Board Game Geek from the people who rated it. People seem to like it. So
yeah, I got a note here. It's 8.3, and that's with 618 ratings.
Yeah. So that's really gratifying, and I appreciate people who've rated it. Interestingly enough, if you rate a board game 3 or 4 on Board Game Geek, you may not know it, but the designer is stalking your profile, because I certainly do. What else is he rated 4 on here? And you're thinking, Isle of Skye 4. Okay, I don't mind being in the same company as that. All right, I'll let them off if they, all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
So the artwork in the game's got a different twist to it. So it was all artwork that kids submitted. Is that correct?
Yeah. The team of CoraQuest isn't just me and Cora, really. It's me, Cora, and a chap I know called Gary, who's the artist. And he was the one who originally sent me through that picture of the cover. And one of his kind of passions is encouraging people to do art and things like that. And originally, we were just going to make it print and play type thing, rather than Kickstarter. It kind of all went through various stages of getting more and more ambitious, basically. And Gary was saying, well, why don't you get Cora to do the art, and then I'll kind of colour it in. and so we did that, and then it looked so great that when we decided to go to Kickstarter, we thought, well, let's just follow that through, and instead of just Cora doing the art, let's get anybody who wants to send us art, basically. Any kid who wants to send us art, we'll kind of put a list of various places of art we need, and then kids from all over the world. So we had children from every single continent in the world, apart from Antarctica, have contributed art towards the game, which is amazing. And what Gary does is basically he traces round the art they do on his computer, then he colours it in, so it looks great. But it's still, the soul of it is still very much kids' art in there, and the kind of charm and the heart in there. It's cute, but it's not cutesy. I'm really, really proud of the art, actually. It's one of the things that I think is incredibly unique about the game. And the other thing we've got that we do with the game is that because Cora and I had such a wonderful time creating this, and it was such a valuable experience for us both. I wanted to kind of pass some of that creativity, the opportunity to be that creative on to other people, and so if you wanted, you can draw your own pictures and upload it to this app we've got on the website, and make your own characters and design your own characters and put their own stats on and their own special abilities and all that kind of stuff. So kids can do that, and because sometimes children think their art isn't good enough and things like that. I think the fact that all the art in the game is by kids, and it's obviously by kids, allows other children to go, well, no, I can do this because look, they've done it. I can do this. Rather than my stuff's not good enough. So I think that's really important as well. It's something me and Gary are both quite passionate about.
Yeah, I noticed on the characters too, you had a pretty diverse. There's 8 starting characters that you can pick from, and it's pretty diverse. You've got different races. You've even got one in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
one of the heroes in a wheelchair. What was the thought process going into that as far as inclusive?
Well, basically inclusivity. I mean, we're very passionate that everybody gets to have someone they can identify with. That it's just. Also, that it's acceptable for boys to play a girl character just as much as it's acceptable for girls to play a boy character. The sword girl, who's the character who's a wheelchair user, we actually got an email through asking us if there's going to be anybody in a wheelchair from a girl and a mum, and who was a wheelchair user herself, and we thought, why? Yes, there is now. You know what I mean? We felt a bit guilty that we hadn't thought of it before, but yes, there certainly is, and so that was a kind of appeal for art we did and we got, I think, must have been 100 pictures that kids did of these kind of warriors in wheelchairs. Which were all amazing, and we ended up having to pick one and all that kind of stuff. So no, I think it's really important that there's a wide variety of race. There's a wide variety, there's male, female. We've got a gender neutral characters in there as well. Without being heavy handed about it as well. I think it just is. Rather than flying a flag and saying, look what we're doing, you know what I mean? It just is. And I think that's important that you just accept these things as they just are. And this is how it is, and this is how the world is, so that's how our characters are. It's not anything special, it's just this is how the world exists. There's disabled people, there's peoples of all races, there's people of all genders, There aren't that many robots, but still we did put a robot in there. But but
Not yet, at least.
Not yet. Well, exactly. Who knows? Who knows in the future? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to get it. I think my little girl will have a blast with it. She'll be 5 in this coming January.
Oh, that's
For her 4th birthday, though, I got her a ton of board games. Some Hobby games, some Peaceable Kingdom, just some basic entry stuff. And every night it's, Daddy, let's play this. Can we play this? I want to play this.
Fantastic.
So I got her already hooked into the hobby.
There's nothing better than playing. Well, there's lots of great things in this life, but one of the great things in this life is playing board games with your child, and the aim of CoraQuest was always not that you play down to your kid or your kid has to play up, that you're both playing on the same kind of level, that you're both gaining equal amount of enjoyment from a game. So there's stuff to enjoy in the game for a grown up just as much as there's stuff to enjoy in the game for a kid, and that was always my aim. It wasn't to make a kids game; it was to make a game that me and my daughter could play on an equal level, and I'm quite proud of the fact that I think we've achieved it. I mean, not everyone will like it, but I think for a lot of families, people are saying this is a game that I can enjoy and my daughter enjoys, and we both enjoy it together, rather than let's go, oh, okay, go on then, I'll have to play Candyland with you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I couldn't do another. I think Candyland's my most played game this year. Stats.
Well, yeah, and you probably enjoy it because you're spending time with your daughter. There's nothing wrong with playing Candyland and stuff like that, but it's nice to have a game you can play on a different level as well.
Yeah. It stings whenever your 4-year-old has a higher win percentage at a game.
Well, that's the advantage you see of games with luck in it, and that's why Cora and I were both keen to have a cooperative game, so you both win together or lose together. But the advantage there's a few mechanics really I think work really well for kids, and one's luck, and one's memory. Because you see, I forgot it then. Because you always want to. The best games to play with a child is a game where your child your child has an opportunity to win. Basically, they shouldn't always win, but it also should never be. It's no fun as a 4-year-old playing chess with your mum or whatever, and just getting pounded into the ground every single time. That's no fun. But it is fun playing a memory game where your memory's sharper than the mum's memory, and that means that you can remember stuff that they can't, and you're going ha 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 ha, and you're legitimately beating them. And same with luck. Luck allows you to win now and again. So that's good.
Oh yeah, we've got my mom had bought her a Paw Patrol memory game,
right?
And like a Disney princess one, and she was legitimately just beating us all down. Like she would have double the matches, and we're like, "This child, okay."
Yeah, well, that's what they're good at is memory. There's a wonderful memory game called Wizardry to the Power of 3, which is a German game, but it might be available in the US. It's definitely available in the UK, and it's a cooperative game which relies on memory as one of the kind of prime main mechanisms. And it's absolutely wonderful because it allows the child to be the alpha gamer. Because you've got no idea where these things are, but they remember where they are. So they can tell you what to do and stuff like that. And to give that empowerment to a child to be the alpha gamer is a great gift to them, really. So I recommend that stuff like that. So yeah. I mean, that's not CoraQuest, but still, I'm passionate about all family games. It's something that I really feel passionately about. Good quality family games are amazing.
So you guys are about to have another Kickstarter launch on the 24th October. What's the expansion looking like?
The expansion is basically more of the same. Ultimately, one of the things that people said they missed out of, because CoraQuest is a dungeon crawler. It's got 10 adventures in it. It's very simple, very pared down rules, but there are still some tactical. There's lots of tactical choices to be made and things. But it's a game that both kids and adults can grasp very easily. One of the things that people said they felt were missing from it was a campaign mode, because all the stories were kind of they're linked in characters and linked in kind of storyline, but they're not linked in kind of you don't progress, so you don't level up and things like that. Now that was actually a deliberate decision by me because I find with campaign games often you just play the first campaign, then you don't play it again for 3 or 4 months, and then so you go, we'll just play the first game of the campaign again, and then you don't play it again for 3 or 4 months, and then or you'll play it with somebody else. We'll start the first game of the campaign. So you just end up playing the first game of a campaign over and over and over again and never get to the end. So I wanted it to be you could dip in and out wherever you want. However, people did want a campaign mode, and kids did want to keep their weapons and get more experience as time went on and things. And I think that's quite valid. So what we kind of Cora and I ended up doing is working out a way of having a leveling up mechanism, which you can still jump. You could, but all the adventures are still playable individually as well. So it's the best of both worlds, really. You can play. There's 2 campaigns in there. You can play one campaign of 5 games and another campaign of 5 games, or you can just dip in and out and play the adventures on their own. There's a kind of scaling system. It's very simple, very easy, but yeah. So basically, it's more the same. There's 10 more adventures. There's some more heroes. The last Kickstarter we did, 2 of the characters in CoraQuest were drawn by the children of Ian O'Toole. Do you know Ian O'Toole? He's a relatively famous board game artist. He does all the on Mars and all that kind of stuff. Anyway. So we didn't want his art in it. We wanted his kids' art in it. But this time round, we're inches away from finalising an even more famous artist's child to do the art in it, which I think is really cool. So there's more characters, there's more villains, there's more stuff. There's basically more stuff. There's some super strong dice you can get. There's more environments, so you're gonna get a slime environment where you're gonna adventure through a dungeon part where it's slime and then an ice bit. just more stuff. It's really exciting. I'm really proud of it. Actually, I think it really builds on what we did and pushes it to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, it launches on the 24th, and you guys already have 2,100 Notify Me on Launch subscribers and stuff.
Yeah. So all I'm hoping for is every single one of those ones presses back, and then we'll be fine. No, I'm not. Yeah, who knows how well it'll do? I'll just be happy if it gets in some people's hands. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. It is what it is, but I'm very proud of what we've done, and again, we're asking for art for this as well. So if anyone's knows a kid who might want their art in a board game, then if you follow along with the campaign, you sign up to our mailing list and things like that, then we'll let you know what we're after, basically, and there'll be more art requests going on as the campaign progresses, as you know, to allow people to contribute and to make it a community effort. Someone said to me that the whole CoraQuest thing is very much like a kind of let's put on a play right here type stuff, a real community kind of endeavour, and that's what I really like. I really like the community around us and everyone contributing to make something we can all be really proud of, really.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys got a Facebook group too, and it seems like that community's fairly large too. There's over 2,000 that were in it.
It's popping, that one. Yeah, there's 2,000 people in that community as well. So when we first did the campaign, I was a bit worried we wouldn't fund, as in the original base game. We needed like 500 backers, and I was kind of crossing my fingers and counting off friends and things like that who might be willing to back us and things like that. And we ended up with about 5,000 people backing us. And
Wow.
obviously, an expansion won't do that, because not everyone who bought the base game will want to buy the expansion. And because we were in a tricky place really with the retail release, because the retail release came later than we really wanted it to be. We weren't sure if we should hold off on doing the Kickstarter for the expansion until the retail release was more established. But then, if we did that, then the people who bought the original base game, their kids might get older. I mean, kids tend to get older. I don't know if you noticed, and so they may not be wanting to back the expansion. We felt we owed a lot to the people who had that belief in us in the first place round. So really, this expansion's for them, and hopefully draw some more people in. But yeah, it's tricky timing things. I'm not really a business person or a marketing person or anything like that, so it's very tricky kind of working out what's the best decision. But this is what we're going with. We're going for expansion, and hopefully we'll be delivering kind of October, November next year, just in time for Christmas.
Now, will people be able to add on the base game if they back the expansion?
Yeah. They'll definitely be able to add on the base game. It'll get delivered at the same time as the expansion. And as I say, the base game should be available in the shops within the next few weeks. So it's going to be up to them whether they want to. It'd probably be cheaper to buy them both, because we'll obviously put a discount because it'd be cheaper for us to make it and bundle it together. So we'll pass that on to the backers. But it's going to be up to people if they want to get it now or they want to back the expansion and the base game as well. So yeah,
Very nice. So, what 3 games right now are you excited to get to the table? Whether it's something that is about to come out, it's sitting on your shelf of shame or shelf of opportunity, however you want to call it.
I don't have much of a shelf of shame. I keep my collection very tight, but I have just returned from Essen, so I have bought some games in Essen. So the games that I've got in Essen, there's 1 family game and 2 me games. So the family game I got is a game called Animals of Baker Street, and this is a family deduction game from Yellow. I don't think it's available in the States at the moment. I don't think it's available in the UK at the moment. I think it was just brought for Essen, and then it'll be trickling through any time, within the next couple of months or so. It's very much in the style of kind of the Sherlock Holmes. What do they call it? The Sherlock Holmes deduction games, where you're looking through books and reading things, and do you know what I'm talking about? I can't remember.
Was it the pocket kind of like Pocket Detectives? From
No, it's like Casebook of Sherlock Holmes or something like that. But basically, it's a narrative game where it's a bit like Chronicles of Crime, but without an app, basically. So you'll be you're investigating certain locations around Baker Street. You've got a team of detective animals: a frog, a mouse, a kind of bird, and a tarantula for some reason. I'm not. But anyway, whatever. And then you kind of investigate. You're going to see the hedgehog to see if they've found anything, and then kind of deducing who's stolen Sherlock Holmes's hat or something like that. So it's a deduction game for family. So I've got that, and I'm planning to play that with Cora, my youngest. Hopefully in the next few days, and then I've got Resist. Which is certainly not a kids' game. It's a solo game based around the resistance to the fascist regime in Spain, I think. Franco's fascist regime in Spain. Very much in the kind of style of The Grizzled, if you've ever played The Grizzled. It's a solo game. Looks really, really interesting. Beautiful art. So I've got that, which I'm looking to get forward to getting solo. And then I've got Village Rails, which is a Matthew Dunstan and is it Brett Gilbert? And that's based on the Village Green card game, and it's a game about basically route building and card laying game, or almost a tile laying game where we putting cards down, and trying to score points by connecting various rails up to things like that. So 3 Essen releases, which I kind of bought all 3 of them on a kind of bit of an impulse, but I'm hoping they're good.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, the kind of 3 that I'm looking forward to right now is Skeptics. It's from UCAC Games. It's the designer's out of New York, the lead editor's in West Virginia, so he's a little bit more local to me. But they finished up on Kickstarter earlier this year, and they just got it. They finished the Kickstarter last year, but they just got the shit earlier this year, and I was able to pick up a copy at one of the local conventions. And I'm teaching it tomorrow at the coffee shop.
Oh.
We're doing a board game brunch. But you're co-op team of paranormal investigators. You're going through and you're trying to prove the existence of ghosts to, prove to the skeptics that ghosts are real. And there's 8 different types of ghosts that you're going for, and each one has like the way it interacts with the board and stuff. And I got to play it last night on Tabletopia, and it was really, really good.
Oh, sounds interesting.
I've still got Wonderland's War. It's still in the shrink. I got to get it busted out. It's just sitting there calling to me.
That's come to Kickstarter again recently, hasn't it? Or GameFound or somewhere?
Yeah, there was a expansion for it, and then I believe they're redoing like the deluxe edition as well. I didn't get the deluxe edition.
Good man.
I got it off of Amazon, but like the deluxe edition's like $200, $250, something like that. And I'm like,
resist those deluxe editions. I agree. You don't need these $300 games in your thing. Cheap games all the way. That's what I say.
Yeah, and then I just picked up Paint the Roses. It's another Alice in Wonderland themed game, but it's a cooperative and kind of a logic puzzle type. So I picked it up at the convention I was at last week. So I'm hoping that it's decent. I've heard a lot of good reviews about it, but I haven't got to play it yet.
I think I've heard of that one. Yeah, it's got that quite nice art. Am I right in thinking that? Is it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you'd hope it would do with that theme and title, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, with you being a mental health nurse, what mental health benefits do you think comes from gaming?
My area of mental health is very emergency and acute, and people who are actively suicidal and stuff like that. That's what I do mainly for a living. So I don't use games within my personal practice, but on a kind of general whole thing, I think gaming is invaluable. I think it's a really useful thing because basically it's a way of being social. But also has a structure to it. So if you're quite an insecure person, if you're quite an introverted person, it's one way of becoming very kind of social and active and getting out, while having that structure that could act as a catalyst. If you're not feeling so great in yourself, you can concentrate on the board. If you're feeling more social, you can spread out and into the rest of the group and all that kind of stuff. It allows people from all walks of life, all kind of opinions, all political colours, to come together and do something enjoyable over a table. So I think generally anything you're passionate about is wonderful for your mental health. You know, whether that be running, whether that be collecting stamps, whether that be board gaming. So I don't think it's particularly special in that way. I think anything you can be passionate about, I don't know, is good for your mental health. But the advantage that board gaming has is it forces you to be social, to engage in it, forces you to be social, and being with other people is vital, basically, especially if you're feeling particularly low, if you're feeling depressed or whatever, to be kind of spurred to go out and spend time with other people is really useful. So I think it is very valuable. I think any hobby is very valuable. Don't get me wrong, but I think that social aspect of board gaming, but social in a very safe space where you're able to ebb and flow away from how social you want to be, but yet you still can be with people in an organised activity is really, really useful. That's my view. Anyway, what's your view? I mean, it's obviously something you think about because I've heard you introduce yourself that way before, so it's something that you feel passionate about.
Yeah, so I think it's just kind of like what you just said. You can ebb and flow and decide how social you want to be. It's also very constructed. So it's like if we sit down to play a game, like, hey, we know what these rules are. These are our limits. This is what we can do. Versus if we're, driving down the road, we're just praying that other people obey the rules of the traffic laws. And, it blows my mind, just my level of anxiety that I'm doing, 70 on the interstate. And I'm like, well, I hope you do what you're supposed to do. So it helps with that. For me personally, it's helped with my hobby jumping tendencies and stuff through my manic episodes. So it's like I can jump within the hobby. So I'm like, okay, if this month I'm focused on deck builders, and then the next month it could be I'm focused on area control. So it offers those different paths, so I can still be in the main hobby, but then there's so much more to do within that.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, I've never thought of it as kind of a steadying as a kind of steadying thing for a manic phase at all. That sounds really, really useful. Yeah,
because I would go through hobby jumping periods of, it's like, oh, I'm going to learn how to blacksmith, and I'm going to read all of these blacksmithing books and watch all of these videos and get all of the equipment, and then never actually get into it.
Yeah.
It's like the next new shiny thing's over here. Like, oh, what is this? I'm going to learn all about kayaking and paddleboarding and camping and modifications and just.
I've definitely been there myself, and also because you're in that. You can avoid spending too much as well, can't you? Yeah. Although it's very easy to spend a lot on board games, but at least the secondary market you can usually push. You can usually get most of your money back, can't you? When you sell your games as well.
Well, that's why I haven't got into miniature painting yet, because I know if I jump down that rabbit hole, it's going to be another big money dip.
That can be a pricey thing. In fact, I've got a ton of paints I never use anymore now. I'm too old, you see, man. I can't see. I have to keep taking my glasses on and off for various different focal lengths. So I've given up on mini painting because I'm too old. My eyes can't handle it.
Well, Dan, I appreciate the time here. You have any sites you want to plug? You'd mentioned a podcast earlier. Where can we find that at?
I do a podcast with Mike Delicio from the Dice Tower. That's Sporadically Bored. That's just everywhere that you would normally find a podcast. Same place as you found this podcast, probably. Well, it's a video as well, so it's not on the. I also the main thing I'm doing at the moment, the main thing that's taking up all my time is CoraQuest. So if you go to CoraQuest.com, you'll be able to find links to the Kickstarter if it's already started while you're watching this, or the mailing list and things like that if it hasn't started yet. So it starts, as you said. I'm glad you know the date. Was it 24th?
Yep, October 24th.
Yeah, at least you know the date. I don't. But yeah, starts a week on Monday for me. So and it's going to run for 18 days. It's all very exciting. And CoraQuest is available. Should be available very soon in the shops if you want to take a look at it. It's also on Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia if you want to have a go at it before you, or even if you don't want to buy it, you can just have a go at it there. Okay. That's fine by me too.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was on there. I'm going to check that out then.
Yeah. I think the Tabletopia one is a bit more up to date. The Tabletop Simulators one is the one that we were using for playtesting on the original go around. So various things got tweaked a little bit, but yeah, have a go at it.
Yeah. That way, while I'm waiting until December for my Amazon package to arrive, I can still get it done.
I'm excited to learn it's with Amazon. That's new on me. So I didn't know Amazon was having it. So yeah.
Alrighty. Well, Dan, I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.